Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It was a chilly Tuesday evening when Emma walked into the upscale restaurant, her second-hand dress and worn-out shoes feeling out of place among the polished patrons. She tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in her stomach, the mix of nerves and uncertainty. She had promised Jenny she would go on this blind date, but deep down, Emma wasn't sure she belonged here. She glanced nervously around the room, her eyes landing on the table near the back. A man sat alone, his dark hair neatly styled, and he seemed absorbed in his phone. This had to be him, she thought, taking a deep breath. With a shaky hand, she adjusted her dress and walked over, forcing a smile. "Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Emma. Nice to meet you," she said, her voice slightly higher than usual as her nerves kicked in. The man looked up, startled, blinking at her as if he hadn't expected company. He paused, clearly confused for a moment before responding. Hi Emma." He glanced at her, his eyes softening slightly, but there was still a look of hesitation in them. Emma misread his confusion as shyness. She smiled nervously, taking a seat across from him. "I know this is awkward. Blind dates are always weird, right?" she said, trying to fill the silence with something, anything to ease her own discomfort. "Jenny told me you might be a little quiet, so don't worry, I can talk enough for both of us." The man, Liam, hesitated for a moment, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. He opened his mouth to correct her, but then, something about Emma's earnest smile made him pause. She wasn't like the polished socialites and calculated networkers he was used to dealing with. She seemed genuine. He decided to play along. "Right. Blind dates are something else," Liam said, his voice low and calm, as he leaned back slightly in his chair. Emma laughed nervously, taking a sip of water to settle her jittery nerves. "Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work, you know." "Work?" Liam asked, his curiosity piqued. "What do you do?" Emma hesitated for a brief moment before answering. "I'm a waitress. Not exactly glamorous, but it pays the bills. Well, most of them anyway." "And you're an artist, right?" Liam asked, his tone light and interested. "I hope to be," Emma replied, her voice softening as she shared her passion. "One day, I dream of opening my own art studio." She leaned in a little, her hands fidgeting with the edge of her napkin. "But right now, it's just a dream." Emma looked up at Liam, but he was already gazing at her with genuine interest, a faint smile on his lips. He looked down at his own glass, considering her words. He was surprised by how easy it was to talk to her. Most people, especially women, were either after something from him or simply intimidated by his wealth and status. But Emma, she was different. They continued talking for what felt like hours. Emma shared stories about her shifts at the diner, her struggles to pay rent, and her hopes for the future. Liam listened, laughing more than he had in weeks. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and for the first time in a long while, he felt at ease. As they chatted, Emma's phone buzzed, interrupting the conversation. She glanced at the screen, and her stomach sank. "Hey Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Emma's face turned red with embarrassment. She looked up at Liam, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not Kevin, are you?" Liam's smile faltered slightly, and he shook his head. "No, I'm not." Her cheeks burned with humiliation. She stood up abruptly, her coat slung over her arm. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she muttered, looking around as if the walls might swallow her up. "I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing." Liam stood too, his hand reaching out as if to stop her, but Emma was already on her way out. "Wait, Emma," he called softly. She didn't stop, but Liam couldn't let her go that easily. He watched her leave, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He hadn't meant for this to happen, but now he found himself wondering if he would ever see her again, and why the thought of never seeing her again bothered him so much. As Emma bolted out of the restaurant, her mind raced, the embarrassment eating away at her. She just wanted to forget the entire evening. She couldn't believe she had sat at the wrong table, talked to the wrong guy. She grabbed her phone, texting Jenny in a hurry, trying to make sense of the evening. "You won't believe what just happened. I sat at the wrong table, Jenny. I think I just made a complete fool of myself." Meanwhile, back in his penthouse suite, Liam sat on his leather couch, staring at the city lights outside his window. He thought about their conversation, her sincerity, her warmth. She had been so different from the people he usually interacted with. And for the first time in months, he found himself wishing he hadn't let her run off. Could this be the beginning of something unexpected? Or would it be a story of a missed connection? The next morning, Emma sat on her couch in her small apartment, staring blankly at her phone. Her mind replayed the awkward scene from the night before. She had run out of the restaurant without even giving Liam a chance to explain. Her face burned with embarrassment just thinking about it. It was just a misunderstanding, but why did it feel like more? She grabbed her coffee cup, staring at the half-empty mug as the weight of the night sank in. She had promised Jenny she would give this blind date a try, but it had been a disaster. And yet, despite everything, there was a strange feeling lingering inside her, a feeling she couldn't quite shake. Could Liam have been different? Emma's phone buzzed, pulling her out of her thoughts. She glanced at the screen. It was a message from Jenny. "You okay? What happened? You disappeared so fast last night." Emma sighed and typed back quickly, trying to brush off the awkwardness. "Yeah, just sat at the wrong table. Super embarrassing. I'm fine, don't worry about me." She hit send, but deep down, she knew she wasn't fine. She had no idea what had come over her last night. The moment she'd realized her mistake, she had run. Maybe she was just scared of what might happen if she stayed, or maybe she had been too quick to judge the situation. But now, she couldn't stop thinking about Liam. Hours passed, and Emma found herself at the same cafe she often visited after work. The warm smell of coffee filled the air as she sipped her drink, lost in thought. Suddenly, she froze. The familiar sound of footsteps approaching her table made her heart skip a beat. She looked up, her eyes widening. It was Liam. He stood at the entrance of the cafe, looking around. Their eyes met, and for a split second, she thought about bolting again. But she didn't. Instead, she took a deep breath and waved hesitantly. To her surprise, Liam smiled and made his way over to her. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice calm but warm. "Mind if I join you?" Emma felt a rush of nervous energy. "Sure. I was just thinking," she replied, a little too quickly. Liam took a seat across from her, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence felt heavy, but not in an uncomfortable way. It was as if both of them were waiting for the other to break the ice. Liam glanced at her, his expression thoughtful. "Look, I just wanted to apologize for last night," he said, his voice sincere. "I didn't mean to make things awkward." Emma shook her head, feeling the sting of embarrassment rise again. "No, it was totally my fault. I just panicked. I sat at the wrong table and didn't even give you a chance to explain." Liam smiled softly. "It's okay, really. Honestly, I'm just glad you didn't leave right away. I was a little surprised when you ran off, but I figured something was up." Emma smiled back, feeling a little more at ease. There was something about his calm demeanor that made her feel better. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I didn't mean to make it weird." "You didn't," Liam replied, his tone warm. "I get it. Blind dates can be strange. Besides, it's not every day that someone sits at the wrong table and ends up chatting with a stranger like that." Emma chuckled, grateful for his understanding. "I'll admit, it was a pretty bizarre way to meet someone." The conversation flowed easily after that, and Emma found herself opening up more than she had intended. She told Liam about her dreams of becoming an artist, about the challenges she faced working long shifts just to make ends meet. She didn't usually talk about her personal life with strangers, but there was something about Liam that made her feel comfortable. Liam listened intently, nodding along. He didn't say much at first, but as Emma spoke, he couldn't help but be drawn in by her honesty and passion. There was something refreshing about her, something that set her apart from the usual crowd he dealt with. He found himself enjoying the conversation more than he had expected. For a moment, he forgot about the life he had carefully built around him, the corporate world that had been his focus for so long. As they talked, Emma realized something she hadn't noticed before. Liam wasn't like the others. He wasn't trying to impress her or sell her an image. He was simply listening, and that felt so different from the polished, rehearsed conversations she had with others. Maybe it was the fact that he wasn't trying to hide behind his wealth and status, Or maybe it was because he had shown up at the cafe to talk to her after what had happened the night before. Finally, after a while, Liam leaned back in his chair and smiled. I know this might sound a little forward, but I'd like to see you again, Emma. Not as some blind date, but as two people who just clicked. What do you think? Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that, especially after everything that had happened. But there was something about Liam, something genuine, that made her want to take a chance. She hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. Yeah, I'd like that, she said, her voice soft but sure. For the first time since their initial encounter, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, she had met someone who was worth getting to know. And as the conversation continued, she realized that perhaps this wasn't just another blind date gone wrong. Maybe it was the start of something new, something real. The days following their chance encounter were a whirlwind for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about Liam and the unexpected connection they had shared. They began to meet more often, sometimes at cafes, sometimes at art galleries, and sometimes simply for walks. In the park, every time they met, it felt more natural, more comfortable. Emma had never expected a blind date to lead to something like this. They were no longer just two strangers sitting at a table. They were two people getting to know each other, slowly but surely. One evening, as they walked through a park near her apartment, the conversation turned more personal. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over everything. The soft rustle of leaves in the trees and the distant hum of the city created a peaceful backdrop for their talk. You know, Liam said, glancing at Emma, I didn't expect this to happen. Not like this, anyway. I thought we'd just get a quick coffee, make small talk, and then go our separate ways. He paused, his hands shoved into the pockets of his jacket as he walked beside her. But now, every time I see you, I can't help but look forward to it. It's different. Emma smiled, feeling a flutter in her chest. She had to admit, she felt the same way. She hadn't expected to be so drawn to him. He was kind, genuine, and so easy to talk to. Yeah, I didn't think much would come of it either, she said softly, but I like these moments. Just talking, without any pressure. She looked at him, her eyes meeting his for a brief moment. I didn't expect this to feel so real. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it was filled with sincerity. Liam's expression softened, and he stopped walking, turning to face her. It is real, Emma. For me, anyway. It's funny how things work out, right? One wrong table, one mistaken identity, and here we are. His voice was steady, but Emma could hear the underlying emotion in it. He was trying, in his own way, to let her know that this wasn't just some fleeting connection. She felt a warmth spread through her at his words. She had been hesitant at first, unsure whether this was just a temporary thing or something more, but now, with Liam standing in front of her, she realized that maybe it could be more. Maybe it already was. But as they stood there, the moment felt fragile. Emma couldn't help but wonder about his life. He was a tech millionaire, after all, and she was just a waitress, struggling to make ends meet. Could someone like her ever truly belong in his world? Could someone like him ever truly fit into hers? She pushed the thought aside, forcing a smile. It's funny, isn't it? How life surprises you when you least expect it. She wasn't sure if she was trying to reassure herself or him. But either way, she was glad to have this moment. They stood in silence for a few moments, simply enjoying each other's company. The light was dimming, and the park was beginning to empty, but Emma didn't feel the need to rush. For once, she didn't feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. As they started walking again, Liam's phone buzzed in his pocket. He checked the screen briefly before glancing at her. Sorry, I need to take this, he said, his tone apologetic. It's work. I'll be quick. He stepped aside to answer the call, leaving Emma standing alone for a moment. She couldn't help but watch him as he talked, his posture straight and his tone serious. She had seen this side of him before, focused, composed, always in control. It made her wonder if he ever let his guard down. Was there a side of Liam she hadn't yet seen? As he finished the call and walked back toward her, Emma realized that she was still uncertain about where this connection was leading. Her feelings were becoming more complicated, and she wasn't sure if she was ready to let herself fully trust someone, especially someone like Liam. But as he returned to her side, offering her a small smile, she felt something stir inside her. Maybe it was time to stop holding back. Maybe it was time to take a chance. Everything okay? She asked, trying to sound casual. Yeah, Liam replied, nodding. It was just some work stuff. Nothing important. He gave her a reassuring smile. Sorry about that. Emma shrugged, pretending not to mind. It's fine. Work is important. She looked at him for a moment, feeling the weight of her words. But, I've been thinking. She trailed off, not sure where her thoughts were going. Liam raised an eyebrow, curious. What's on your mind? He asked. Emma hesitated, her gaze drifting to the ground before meeting his eyes again. I guess I'm just wondering where all of this is going. I mean, we've been seeing each other, and things feel good, but I don't know what comes next. She felt vulnerable saying it out loud, but it was the truth. She needed to know if this was something he was taking seriously. Liam stopped walking, his expression turning more serious. I don't have all the answers, Emma, he said, his voice low. But I do know one thing. I want to see where this goes. I want to keep seeing you. If you're willing to give it a chance, I'm in. His words were sincere, and for the first time, Emma saw the depth of his feelings. He wasn't just saying it out of politeness. He meant it. Emma felt a knot loosen in her chest as she looked at him. Maybe this wasn't just another blind date gone wrong. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something real. She smiled softly, her heart light. Okay, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Let's see where it goes. Weeks passed, and Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow. They spent more and more time together, and the initial awkwardness that had marked their first meeting seemed like a distant memory. The more they talked, the more Emma realized just how much they had in common, despite their vastly different worlds. Liam would often ask her about her dreams of becoming an artist, and Emma found herself opening up about her childhood, her struggles, and her passion for painting in ways she hadn't done with anyone before. One evening, Liam invited Emma to attend a charity gala he was hosting. She had always been wary of events like this, feeling like she didn't belong in such a high society setting, but Liam insisted. It'll be fun, I promise. You'll meet some interesting people, and we'll have a great time together. Emma hesitated at first, but eventually, she agreed, not wanting to disappoint him. The night of the gala, Emma found herself in front of her closet, staring at her options. She had never been to an event like this before, and the thought of walking into a room full of wealthy and important people made her feel out of place. She had no fancy gowns or expensive jewelry. Instead, she opted for a simple dress she had bought on sale a few months ago, paired with a pair of heels that had seen better days. She looked at herself in the mirror, feeling self-conscious. Maybe she shouldn't go. Maybe she wasn't ready for this kind of world. But just as she was about to change her mind, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Liam. I'm excited to see you tonight. You're going to look amazing. Can't wait to see you. Emma smiled at the message. She felt a surge of warmth in her chest. Despite her doubts, she knew Liam wanted her there. That was enough to push her forward. When she arrived at the venue, a lavish ballroom filled with glittering chandeliers and elegantly dressed people, Emma's nerves came rushing back. She felt out of place, like she didn't belong in this world of luxury. But Liam was there, waiting for her at the entrance, looking every bit the part of the successful millionaire he was. His tailored suit and confident smile made him look like he belonged in the room, while she felt like she was barely keeping it together. As soon as Liam saw her, his face lit up. You made it, he said, stepping forward and taking her hand in his. You look incredible. Emma couldn't help but blush. She had never been good at accepting compliments, but the way he looked at her made her feel like she actually belonged there, in that moment, with him. They entered the ballroom together, and Emma tried to relax, but the crowd was overwhelming. Liam introduced her to a few of his colleagues and friends, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was being judged. She stuck close to Liam, finding comfort in his presence, but the whispers and curious glances from the other guests didn't go unnoticed. At one point, while they were standing by a table, a woman approached them, giving Emma a once-over before turning her attention to Liam. Liam, darling, she said in a voice that oozed sweetness. I didn't expect to see you here with someone so different. Emma felt her stomach churn at the subtle jab, but before she could respond, Liam stepped in. This is Emma, he said, his voice firm but calm. She's my date, and I'd appreciate it if you treat her with the same respect you treat anyone else. The woman blinked, taken aback by his response, and then smiled, her tone shifting. Of course, darling. How silly of me. But Emma could see the thinly veiled judgment in her eyes. She was used to this, the feeling of being looked down upon, but it still stung. After that, Liam kept a closer eye on her, making sure she felt included and comfortable. As the night went on, Emma began to relax. She realized that Liam wasn't just a man of wealth and power. He was kind, and he cared about her in a way that felt real. The other guests' opinions no longer mattered. She was here with Liam, and that was all that mattered. Later in the evening, as they stood near the balcony, Emma looked out at the city skyline, the twinkling lights stretching far beyond what she could see. Liam stood beside her, his presence comforting. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. Emma nodded, a small smile on her lips. "Yeah, I'm not used to all of this, but I'm glad I came." Liam turned to her, his expression serious yet tender. "I'm glad you came too," he said. "And I'm glad you're here with me. I want you to know that, no matter what anyone else thinks, you mean a lot to me." For a moment, Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. She hadn't realized just how much she had come to care for him, how much she had come to trust him. The world around them, with all its wealth and expectations, seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, in that moment, sharing something real. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise of the crowd. She didn't need to say more. He understood. And in that moment, surrounded by the grandeur of the gala, Emma felt a sense of peace. She didn't have to be anyone else. She could just be herself with Liam. And that was enough. The days after the gala were filled with a mix of emotions for Emma. She couldn't stop thinking about the way Liam had stood up for her, how he had made her feel seen and respected in a world that often made her feel small. It was more than just the wealth and status that Liam possessed. It was the way he treated her, the kindness in his eyes that never seemed to waver, even in the face of judgment. As much as she had tried to keep her distance emotionally, she found herself falling for him more each day. One afternoon, as Emma was leaving work, she received a text from Liam. "Hey, do you want to meet up later? I have something I want to show you." She was immediately intrigued, wondering what he could be planning. She had grown used to the unexpected with him, and she couldn't deny the excitement that bubbled inside her every time they made plans. "Sure, what time?" she replied. Liam responded quickly. "How about 7 p.m.? I'll pick you up." As she waited for Liam to arrive, Emma's mind raced. She still couldn't believe how quickly their relationship had progressed. It felt like only yesterday that they had met under such awkward circumstances, and now here she was, looking forward to spending another evening with him. The thought both excited and scared her. She had always kept her guard up, especially when it came to men like Liam, men with power and influence. But with him, it felt different. She wasn't sure if she was ready to admit how much she had come to care for him, but deep down, she knew the truth. When Liam arrived at her apartment, he greeted her with a warm smile. "Ready for an adventure?" he asked, his eyes twinkling. Emma smiled back, her nerves melting away at the sight of him. There was something about him that made her feel like everything was going to be okay. They drove through the city, the lights of downtown flickering as they passed by. Liam didn't say much during the drive, but Emma could tell he was excited about whatever surprise he had in store. Eventually, they pulled up to an old warehouse on the outskirts of town. It looked like nothing special from the outside, just a plain, brick building, but Liam's expression was filled with anticipation. "What is this?" Emma asked, her curiosity piqued. Liam turned to her, a smile playing on his lips. "Trust me, you're going to love this." He opened the door and led her inside. The warehouse was dimly lit, but as they walked through the space, Emma saw that it was filled with art. Beautiful, vibrant paintings, sculptures, and photographs. It was like a hidden art gallery tucked away in the heart of the city. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she took in the stunning pieces around her. She had never seen anything like it before. "This is incredible," she whispered, her eyes wide with awe. Liam smiled, clearly proud of the space. "I thought you might like it. This is my private collection. I've been working on building it for a while, and I wanted you to see it." Emma turned to him, her heart racing. "Why me?" she asked, the question slipping out before she could stop it. "Why show me this?" Liam paused for a moment, his expression softening. "Because I want to share the things that matter most to me with you. You're different, Emma. You see things differently, and that's something I admire." Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words. She wasn't used to being seen that way, especially by someone like Liam. But in that moment, standing in the middle of his art collection, she realized just how much he had come to mean to her. She had never felt so understood, so valued. They spent hours in the gallery, walking through the different exhibits, talking about art, life, and everything in between. Emma found herself opening up to him in a way she never had before. She told him about her dreams of one day owning her own art studio, of wanting to make a name for herself as an artist. Liam listened, truly listened, and offered encouragement without hesitation. By the time they left the warehouse, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She had always kept her dreams close to her chest, afraid of being judged or ridiculed. But with Liam, it was different. He made her feel like anything was possible. As they drove back to her apartment, the city lights blurring past, Emma couldn't help but feel a shift within herself. She was beginning to realize that this wasn't just a fling, something temporary. What she and Liam had was real, something she hadn't allowed herself to believe in a long time. The walls she had built around her heart were slowly coming down, piece by piece. When they arrived at her apartment, Liam parked the car and turned to her. "I'm glad you came with me tonight," he said quietly, his eyes meeting hers. "I feel like I'm getting to know the real you, and that's something I really appreciate." Emma smiled, her heart swelling. "I'm glad I came too," she said softly. "Thank you for sharing this with me." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The night felt still, the world outside waiting, but in that moment, everything felt right. They didn't need to say anything more. The connection between them was undeniable. As Liam leaned in to give her a soft kiss on the cheek, Emma closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of his touch. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she wasn't afraid to find out. Weeks passed, and the connection between Emma and Liam deepened. What had started as a blind date, a simple mistake of sitting at the wrong table, had transformed into something real. The more time they spent together, the more they realized how much they needed each other, and how much they had in common despite their different worlds. Emma had started to believe in this connection, though doubts still lingered in the back of her mind. Was she just a temporary part of Liam's life? Would he eventually tire of her and her simple, humble world? One afternoon, while they were having lunch together at a cafe Emma frequented, she noticed Liam was quieter than usual. His brow was furrowed as he stared at his phone, and his usually calm demeanor seemed off. She reached across the table and touched his hand gently. "Hey," she said softly, her voice laced with concern. "You've been quiet. Is everything okay?" Liam looked up at her, his expression guarded. He hesitated for a moment before he set his phone down. "It's work. Some stuff came up. Nothing too serious, but it's been weighing on me." Emma nodded, sensing that he was holding something back. "I get it. But you don't have to deal with everything alone, right?" He gave her a small, appreciative smile. "I know. It's just hard to explain. You've been so patient with me, Emma, and I feel like I've been nothing but complicated." Emma squeezed his hand, her heart heavy with emotion. "You don't have to apologize, Liam. I'm here, no matter what. I want to help if I can." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at her. "I don't deserve you," he said, almost to himself. Emma's chest tightened at his words, unsure of how to respond. She had never felt so conflicted before. Part of her wanted to reach out and reassure him that he was enough just as he was, while another part of her wondered if this was it, if the walls around him would remain impenetrable. After a few moments, Liam spoke again, his voice quiet. "There's something I need to tell you, Emma." He seemed to gather himself before continuing. "The truth is, I've been struggling with this whole relationship thing. It's not that I don't want this with you. I do, but I've always kept people at arm's length. It's easier that way. It's safer." Emma's heart ached for him. She understood what he meant. She had her own walls built from years of hardship and fear of being hurt. But as much as she understood, it didn't make the situation any easier. "I get it, Liam," she said softly. "But I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just asking you to be here, with me, and that's enough." Liam's gaze softened as he reached out, cupping her face gently with his hand. "I want to be with you. I want to let myself care for you the way you deserve. I just need time to figure things out." Emma smiled, her heart full. "Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." They sat there for a while, in comfortable silence, both of them lost in their own thoughts. The world outside the cafe seemed far away, as if they were in their own little bubble. Despite the complexities of their feelings and the uncertainties that still lingered between them, there was one thing Emma was sure of. She couldn't imagine her life without Liam in it. She just hoped that, No matter how complicated things got, they could figure it out together. Later that evening, Liam took Emma to one of his favorite spots, a quiet rooftop overlooking the city. The cool evening air felt refreshing as they stood together, the city lights twinkling below them. It was one of those rare moments when everything felt right. They were no longer just two people from different worlds. They were a team, working through the complexities of their lives together. As they leaned against the railing, Liam turned to Emma, his eyes soft but intense. "I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm really glad you're in my life, Emma. I didn't expect any of this, but now that I have you, I don't want to let go." Emma's heart skipped a beat, and for a moment, she forgot about all the worries and doubts she had carried with her. She looked up at him, her voice quiet but steady. "I'm glad too. I never thought I'd find someone like you." The night was peaceful, and for once, Emma felt truly at ease. They stood there, side by side, looking out over the city, their connection stronger than ever. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew they could face them together. And that thought gave her a sense of hope she hadn't felt in a long time. As the evening came to a close, they shared a quiet, tender kiss, one that held more meaning than words could express. In that moment, everything was right. No more questions, no more doubts. Just two people, trusting each other, taking it one day at a time. And for the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to truly believe in love. As the weeks went by, Emma and Liam's relationship continued to grow. They spent more time together, exploring new places, sharing dreams, and learning more about each other's worlds. But despite the progress, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something was just a little off. There were moments when Liam seemed distant, and she couldn't help but wonder if he was holding back, still struggling with the walls he had built around himself. The connection they shared was undeniable, but deep down, she knew there was more to his hesitation. One evening, as they sat together on the couch in Emma's apartment, the quiet between them felt heavier than usual. Liam had been looking at his phone for the last few minutes, his brow furrowed, as if something was weighing on his mind. Emma watched him for a moment before speaking up. "Liam, is everything okay?" she asked, her voice gentle but filled with concern. He looked up, clearly startled, and for a moment, Emma could see the conflict in his eyes. He hesitated before setting his phone down, his hands resting on his lap. "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, his tone slightly distracted. "Just work stuff. Nothing to worry about." Emma wasn't convinced. She could see that it was more than just work. Liam had always been open with her, and this sudden change in his behavior made her uneasy. "You know, you don't have to keep everything bottled up," she said softly. "I'm here for you, Liam. You don't have to carry it alone." She reached out, taking his hand in hers, hoping he would open up. Liam let out a slow breath, his gaze flicking to their intertwined hands. He was silent for a moment before finally speaking. "I don't want to bring you into this," he said quietly, his voice tinged with frustration. "It's just, I've been dealing with a lot lately. There's something I've been keeping from you, something I've been avoiding." He looked up at her, his eyes filled with uncertainty. Emma's heart raced at his words. Was this the moment when everything would change? She squeezed his hand, trying to offer him comfort. "Liam, whatever it is, you don't have to hide it from me," she said, her voice steady but full of emotion. "We're in this together. You don't have to carry this burden alone." Liam took a deep breath, his eyes searching hers for a moment before he spoke again. "I've been struggling with my family," he confessed, his voice low. "I've been trying to fix things with them, trying to prove that I'm not just the guy with money and power. But it's been so hard. They don't see me for who I am. They only see the success, the wealth, the image I've built. And I'm not sure if I can keep up with it anymore." Emma listened intently, her heart aching for him. She had known there was more to his distance, but hearing it from him made it all the more real. She could see how much this weighed on him. "I get it," she said softly, squeezing his hand again. "But you don't have to prove anything to anyone, especially not to your family. You've already proven that you're enough. And I see you, Liam. I see the real you, and that's what matters to me." She paused, her eyes searching his. "You're not alone in this." For the first time in a while, Liam's face softened. The tension in his shoulders seemed to melt away as he looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. He let out a shaky breath. "I don't know what I'd do without you," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "You've made me believe in things I never thought I could again." Emma smiled softly, her heart swelling with affection. "I believe in you, Liam. And I'm not going anywhere." She leaned forward, gently kissing his cheek. "We'll face everything together, okay?" As Liam looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of relief and something deeper, something more vulnerable. He pulled her into an embrace, holding her close, as if he was afraid she might disappear if he let go. Emma wrapped her arms around him, feeling the warmth of his body against hers, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. The weight of the world seemed a little lighter with him by her side. They stayed like that for a while, the silence between them comfortable, no longer heavy with unspoken words. In that moment, Emma knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. The path ahead wouldn't always be easy, but with Liam, she was ready to take on whatever challenges came their way. The next few weeks felt like a turning point for both Emma and Liam. Their relationship had moved beyond just an emotional connection. They were building a life together, facing both their personal fears and the challenges that came with being in a relationship that had its roots in uncertainty. Liam had opened up to Emma in ways he never had with anyone before, and Emma, in return, had given him her trust. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. One evening, as they sat on the couch in Emma's apartment, Liam looked at her with an intensity she hadn't seen before. "Emma," he began, his voice softer than usual, "I've been thinking a lot about us. About where we're headed." His tone was serious, and Emma felt her heart skip a beat. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice tinged with both curiosity and a hint of apprehension. The way Liam was looking at her made her wonder if there was something more he was about to say. He paused for a moment, collecting his thoughts. "I've been really focused on everything else. The business, the family, the pressure of living up to expectations. But now, I see what I was missing all along." He reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "I see what really matters." Emma's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding. She wasn't sure where this conversation was going, but she could sense that it was something important. She gave him an encouraging smile, silently urging him to continue. Liam looked at her, his eyes filled with a depth of emotion that Emma hadn't seen before. "I don't want to keep waiting. I don't want to keep holding back, pretending I don't care about what's in front of me. Because I do. I care about you, Emma. More than I ever thought I could care about someone." Emma felt the warmth of his words fill the space between them, but at the same time, she felt a knot tighten in her chest. Her past had made her cautious, and even though everything about Liam felt right, a small voice in her head whispered doubts. "Liam," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I care about you too. But I've been burned before. I've been let down, and I'm scared of trusting someone completely." She squeezed his hand gently. "I'm scared that one day, you might wake up and realize this isn't what you want." Liam looked at her, his face softening with understanding. "I get it, Emma. I know you've been through a lot, and I can't promise that everything will be perfect. But I can promise that I'll be here, with you, every step of the way. I'm not going anywhere." Emma felt the weight of his words settle deep inside her. Maybe it wasn't about perfection. Maybe it was about finding someone who would stand by you through it all, someone who wouldn't give up on you when things got tough. "You don't have to promise forever," Emma said, her voice steady now. "But I need to know that this is real, that it's not just another passing moment." Liam nodded, his expression serious. "It's real, Emma. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." The air between them felt thick with the unspoken promise of what could be. Neither of them had all the answers, and they both knew that life would present its own set of challenges. But in that moment, with Liam's hand in hers and the vulnerability they both shared, Emma felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something truly lasting. As the night grew quiet, they sat together, letting the peace of the moment wash over them. Emma didn't know what the future held, but with Liam beside her, she felt ready to take the next step, no matter where it might lead. And for the first time in a long time, Emma allowed herself to believe in the possibility of forever. As time passed, Emma and Liam's relationship continued to evolve, becoming stronger with each passing day. They had faced their fears, their insecurities, and the pressures of their own worlds. But through it all, they had remained by each other's side. The trust that Emma had once guarded so tightly began to blossom, and with each new day, her doubts slowly faded away. Liam was not just the man she had once feared would leave her. It became clear that he was the one who was willing to stay, through it all. One sunny afternoon, as they walked through the park hand in hand, Emma couldn't help but smile. The air was warm, the trees in full bloom, and there was a peace that filled her heart. The world around them seemed to be moving in perfect harmony. Liam had just returned from a business trip, and they hadn't seen each other for a few days, but now, as they walked together, everything felt right. Liam, noticing her smile, glanced at her. "What's got you so happy today?" he asked, a playful glint in his eyes. Emma chuckled softly, squeezing his hand. "I just feel at peace. Like, everything is falling into place." She paused, thinking for a moment. "I never thought I would get here, you know? But with you, it feels like anything is possible." Liam's expression softened, and he stopped walking, pulling Emma gently to face him. "I feel the same way," he said, his voice low and sincere. "I've spent so much time building my life around work, around expectations. But being with you, I realized what I was missing all along. It's not about the money or the success. It's about us. It's about you." Emma's heart fluttered at his words, the emotions she had kept locked inside her finally breaking free. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with warmth. "You've shown me that love isn't about perfection. It's about being real with each other, no matter what. And that's what I want with you, something real." Liam smiled, his thumb gently brushing across her hand. "Then let's make it real. I don't need anything else but you, Emma." They stood there for a moment, surrounded by the peaceful sounds of the park, the rustling leaves, the distant chatter of children playing, and the soft hum of the city. Everything around them seemed to blur, leaving just the two of them in their own little world. Finally, after a long pause, Liam spoke again, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Emma, I've never been good at doing things the usual way. But with you, I want to do things right. I want to build something with you. Something lasting." Emma's heart raced as she looked at him, her eyes wide with surprise. She felt a wave of warmth rush through her as she understood exactly what he was saying. "Are you asking me to stay?" she whispered, almost afraid to ask. Liam nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I'm asking you to stay. For as long as you want. Let's build something real together, something that's just ours." Emma couldn't stop the tears that welled up in her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly seen, truly understood. She had always worried that love would be fleeting, that it would be too hard to keep. But here, in this moment with Liam, she realized that sometimes the best love stories are the ones where you decide, together, to make it work. With a smile, she nodded, her heart full of love. "I'm staying, Liam, and I'm so ready for whatever comes next." He grinned, pulling her into an embrace, as the world around them seemed to disappear. In each other's arms, they knew they had found something rare, something worth fighting for. As the days turned into months, Emma and Liam built a life together, one full of love, trust, and shared dreams. They faced challenges, of course, but through every hurdle, they only grew closer. And in the end, it wasn't the riches or the status that mattered. It was the bond they had forged, the love they had chosen to nurture every single day. And so, together, they walked into the future, hand in hand, knowing that with each step, they were writing their own beautiful story.